all regions, division, subdivision, we saw the women standing up for and cried for their children dying like that. What's your take about this very reaction? Let's begin with the women.
As a peace activist, I want to doff my hat to the women peace builders out there. I think for the very first time in this country, we are seeing women at the forefront of peace activism,
Yeah.
which is a very positive sign. I think these are repercussions of what is happening in our neighboring Nigeria, where we've seen courageous citizens, including women, coming out to advocate for an end to the police brutality in that country. And then gradually Cameroonians there is a sense of reawakening that is coming out in the base of Cameroonians today with the hashtag End Anglophone Crisis, and then women picking up. I think gradually something positive is coming to this country. And the reality is that women have been involved in activism, in peace activism, but the concept has never been so popular as it is today. Maybe because of what is happening in neighboring Nigeria again, and with what is happening in Kumba, with the killing of these innocent children, that has really pained a lot of people, not just...
But some people have the worry that, if you see the groups that went out, those that were of the opposition were stopped, while those that were engineered or controlled or led by maybe some government officials, they permitted them.
Well, I started by saying that the Kumba Massacre has something to do around war propaganda.
Yes.
There's some issue around war propaganda around the Kumba Massacre, whether we deny it or not. There's some issue of propaganda. People want to use the Kumba Massacre to pass on a message, and it's really unfortunate. And that is really what is happening today, because when you look at the women who are protesting, the women with genuine concerns for the crisis to be put to an end. Because let us not make a mistake, for the crisis to be put to an end, there must be an objective overview of the root causes of the crisis. If we do not look at the root causes of the crisis, I'm sorry, we might just be postponing a problem. So there are women who believe that the crisis should come to an end through the examination of the root causes, and there are women who believe that the crisis should just come to an end like that. In conflict resolution, it doesn't happen like that. You don't ask people who have picked up arms to drop their weapons without without examining the reason why they picked up arms. It's just like a child comes to you and tells you that he is hungry, and then when you radicalize the child goes back and then brings a weapon. Then you ask the child to drop the weapon without giving that child food. You are just postponing the problem. The child goes back hungry, he will come back. And so that is what is happening. If we just end up by saying End Anglophone Crisis, which I very much respect, End Anglophone Crisis hashtag, it is good. But if we just end without examining why Anglophones picked up arms in the first place, why there are some groups of people today, they call them Amber Boys, it is going to be catastrophic for us today. And so I think that is where the problem is today. There are people who think that the crisis should end through a genuine method of examining the root causes, and there is a group of people who simply believe that the crisis should just come to an end like that, which all of us we believe. We want a ceasefire at all costs, because for us to even address the root causes, there need to be a ceasefire. But if there is a ceasefire without us going back to the dialogue table to talk about what took us to where we are today, there's going to be a problem. So that is where the divide comes in. So there are people who think that this side is for them, and there are other people who think that this side is for them. And so there is a possibility that the government, which is in control of things, will facilitate those who are for them to go on the streets and protest, which is not going to be good for
Shin Timothy, we are looking at the reaction of the women. Let's look at those who were in the Northwest, their reaction to the head of the Northwest region, the governor. Those of the Southwest, their reaction to, you watch the video, you watch the way they reacted to the governor, and that which happened in Kumba. Now, what is it? You got it. Those in the Northwest refused singing the national anthem when the governor said they should sing. Then they say it can't be, as in the lingua franca they say we no go agree. That's what they started singing. They refused singing. Those in the Southwest, when the governor asked them, don't you know this? They say, we don't know them. He tried to force it to them, but they refused. Going to the Kumba vicinity, you saw especially a prophet who came up and told the minister off for quoting the Bible wrongly. What you take about this women approach at this time, which has never happened like that?
Well, I think the women generally, they are picking up seriously on their protest because they have always been selective. One thing we have to make clear is that we have to be honest to ourselves. These women have always been selective because if you look at the Lisoka incident, at least 6 Cameroonians also were killed in Lisoka. Just here in Boya, nobody heard about it, nobody protested. Those are innocent Cameroonians that were killed.
Okay, young boys.
Yes, very young boys. And one mama had to she collapsed and died because the son was killed. These are unreported instances, and that is a woman that died because of that shock. And we didn't see women on the street coming out to protest again for their fellow women because they were killed by the government. So whenever there is a controversy over who killed, you see women on the street. If you look at the incident in Moyoka, in Comfort Timasa, women came out on the street. So generally, my view has been this, that these women who are protesting, they are genuine women who come out to protest. They really decry this crisis and they want it to end. Those women are very few. They are very few. There are some who come out there to camouflage, who are just there because they have NGOs. Because what I stressed at the beginning was that there are NGOs that have an interest to project. Yeah. Most of these NGOs, they are coming here, most of the coordinators and executive directors of these NGOs, they depend on the government for funding. They need funding from the government. Yeah. When the government launches a project, they need the government to incorporate them into the project. That is why they always go out on the streets to protest. And always they end up with the government. They'll call me there, man, that I want you to cover my event. I want you to cover me. Because I'm a practicing journalist, and always, most of the times I witness this. Most of those people, they call me that, yes, I'm protesting, I want you to cover me. I want you to focus on me, I want you to snap me. Yeah. So most of the times when people are saying that...
And maybe some green papers exchange hands.
Obviously, it always obtains. So these are always instances that come to question why are they really genuine people who are protesting. With these questions in mind, it's very difficult. You let him intervene, then I come back.
Apart from being a journalist, I'm a civil society activist. I'm very closer to the civil society more than the field of journalism. Yeah. And one thing I would disagree with Timothy is that most of the civil society organizations depend on government for funding. No credible civil society organization depends on government for funding. In fact, it is very rare for you to see a civil society organization depending on government for funding. They have funders who are mostly funder bodies who are from the Western
He's talking in the setting of Cameroon.
In the setting, even in the setting of Cameroon, it's difficult for you to see an NGO that is being funded by the government.
What I'm saying,
it's like they'll hit you down.
But the issue is that the civil society is not supposed to be an opponent for the government. The civil society is not an opposition party. The civil society is just a complementary phase of government action. Okay. And so if civil societies tend to place themselves an opposition, they lose their neutrality.
If they complement with the government, so whether right or wrong,
that's what I'm saying. Civil society organizations are supposed to be neutral bodies that complement government action towards achieving social justice in communities.
Mr. Mwambo, what I'm saying is, I don't want to just be unnecessarily critical, but what I'm saying is, I experience this. I'm not saying like I got from somebody else. Mm-hmm. I'm saying because I'm saying something that I experienced. Yeah. I'm giving a life experience.
Talk of facts.
Yes, I'm giving facts here that if there is anybody, maybe you want anything. Because I always want to be objective. That is why my discussion, I want to be objective. And whatever I'm saying here, I can back it up. What I'm saying is that there are NGOs. There are NGOs that are led by whoever. Because if an NGO, they call you for a protest march, you are a journalist, then I want you to cover us, we are protesting today, and I want you to focus on me today. It's very hard for you to think that NGOs, because they want to show something.
And most of these NGOs are owned by people who are in the government.
That is it. And if you, yes, and you see most of these protests, why many people are skeptical about most of these protests is that those protests are led by people who are either in the government, it might be, or people who are very sympathetic to the government. That is why most of these NGOs have found themselves in a very difficult position with might be the other party. But I will always say that there are some NGOs that are very objective. There are some NGOs, though I don't want to promote any NGO here, but there's this NGO that I have worked, that at least I will always report for them. I always might be the word call me when there's something. Shada. Center for Human Rights and Freedom. Yes, this is an NGO that does a very good job that I cover them. And that is an NGO that when I'm going there, when they call me, they don't want that.
Without outfits like.
Yes.
I'm really impressed with what my fellow panelists is saying. They say the reaction of the women concerning massacre, especially recently what happened in Kumba. But I will a bit differ with him. He makes a statement like, per se, women are always at maybe to demonstrate, mostly when it's related to the other issue. But maybe from his statement, it looks as if women react only sometimes when it's something that is, or women stand is pro-government. From his statement, I'm not saying he said.
I mean that when you involve women a lot, that's what he's saying.
But he also like women are pro-government in their demonstration or in their. But I will differ with him.
That is not what
I will differ. Let me land. You come back. I will differ with him.
I just wanted to correct something.
You're right. I'm just saying that. I'm just letting you clear that. When it comes to women, they are childbearer. A woman carry a child for 9 months.
Okay.
A woman carry a child for 9 months, take care of the child. Some of the children who were killed or students who were killed in Kumba, they got up in the morning and their parent, who is properly a mother, wash them, dress them, give them, feed them before they were going to school. A woman is a childbearer who carry a child. And because of that, remember, I earlier made a statement here that when you want to look at the Anglophone crisis, it is centered on the bodies of women. Women of Northwest and Southwest were not dull when they created the Northwest Southwest Women Task Force. They are not dull. They have suffered. They are the most vulnerable population. They are not dull to create that Northwest Southwest Women Task Force. I quite remember one of the outstanding consequences of this crisis on women who ran into the bushes, especially at the peak of the crisis, 2017, 2018, whereby I earlier mentioned that they were no part and also you grass for their menstrual cycle. So it is very painful. Don't be surprised with the reaction of women presently now, because there is a particular period where they need to. This is a matter, it's not a matter of being influenced by non-governmental organizations or being influenced by...
Do these women, do they have the power to change situation?
No, women they have powers too. They can. They have powers too.
Then what keeps them?
That's the bone of contention. Now, what keeps them? But I think if they had a powerful mobilized force, when I begin to look at the activities of this Northwest Southwest Women Task Force and the agenda that I had, because they had a program not only to demonstrate in Northwest and Southwest, but to also extend to other regions of the country. But I think when you begin to look at the reaction of women like Madame Kaola and other people, women had a very powerful and influential role. Let me come back, Mr. Moreto. I've followed a politician somewhere who says that when it comes to this Anglophone crisis, a woman or women as a whole, what they can do to end this crisis, they had a lot to do. They had a lot of influential role, as you're saying. I think it is high time that wives of ministers, it is high time that wives of whatever, they will say, this time is coming that Anglophones, women of North and Southwest, or generally in Cameroon, let me land, I have a point. Time is coming that women of Northwest and Cameroon, women in Cameroon in general, they are going to go on sex strike, honestly. They need to go on sex strike, and time is coming that they will come to that. But I want to go back and say you cannot count the number of women have suffered rape because of this ongoing crisis 2016. We cannot count the number of women that are having pregnancy 13, 14 years, and they are the most vulnerable population that has suffered the most. So if you see what they are reacting today, it is just a minor percent that you will say that they are being influenced by somebody.
But do you now, if you say they have the opportunity or they can change things, I want to know what is really keeping, because if you look at it, the women and youths of this country make the highest percentage. And when they are the ones who are vulnerable and they are crying, what makes them to say, okay, we have the yam and the knife, let's change things? What is keeping them back?
That's why I'm still coming back and say that when you begin to look at the Anglophone crisis, and the participation of women from 2016, 17, 18, 19, now 20, it is almost at a peak, honestly. Very few. I'm talking based on what I've been seeing following the Northwest Southwest Women Task Force of reaction of what happened in Kumba of this woman.
Okay, before I get to them, let me ask you. Before I get to them, if you look at all these women groups that are demonstrating publicly, nearly all of them, or all of them, are led by people who have places in the government. Can you see any genuinity in what they are doing? Because if you look at the other women groups that will want to demonstrate, not so. As far as they are led by maybe some members of the opposition, they are stopped. But if you look at the women task force, you start see some owners of NGOs who are in the government. You start seeing some government officials, because let's be factual. I just want to get something here. Yes. If you look at Mboya, Madame Lifaka was there, the governor's wife, some other big women in the government who led it. You go to the Norway, the same. And even those who were reacting are those who were behind, who just came, like what happened in Kumba. So do you really see those who are in government leading something, then they are genuine?
No, actually, that's why I earlier say that I will stand continuously to deny the fact that this Northwest Southwest Women Task Force or most of that demonstration are pro-government. I will deny that fact.
Okay.
The crisis has reached a certain level where women are decided, and I'm still repeating, as time is going, they will do more than what you are saying now. Based on, I repeat, they are the number one victim. They know what it means to carry a child for 9 months. They know what it means to take care of a child of the same level is kill. It is very unbearable.
The public demonstration led in Yaoundé by the Minister of Women's Affairs and all the workers in her ministry and other government women. Do you
no, for that one, maybe that one can be pro-government or political.
Maybe I don't want to come out like somebody who is so much against the women, but I want to bring an example. If you look at the Liberian Civil War, until 2003, the women were bearing the brunt of the conflict. The women were the ones who were killed. The women were the ones who were raped. The women were the ones who had to see their husbands, their sons, their brothers killed or recruited into the army or into the rebel militias, and later they were killed. Women in Liberia came out in their numbers. They did not come out, might be anybody representing the government or anybody because if we are coming out to protest, I don't have to give my brother Solomon money. I don't have to give him transport money. I want you to come to the protest today, I will give you transport money to go back. I will give you money to buy beer and transport money when that starts coming into the game. Because that was an example where women took a deliberate action, a deliberate step to force the government in Liberia and the rebels to come to a ceasefire. And the result was that there was a ceasefire that eventually led to the end of the Liberian Civil War, that later led to John Taylor, this dictator, being taken to the International Criminal Court, where he was finally sentenced for crimes against humanity.
As a journalist, looking at the reaction in the Northwest, I want us to be very specific now, where women were told to sing the national anthem, which is like a symbol of the state, and they refused. Covering such a situation, what's your take on that?
I just think our government, what the governor demonstrated there was just what our government does always, that they are out of reality, they are tone deaf, they don't understand the frustrations of Cameroonians. You cannot see mothers coming to your office, they are crying, because obviously these women were crying. They are coming to mourn the death of their children, and you tell them to sing their national anthem. Is that national anthem going to solve their problem? No.
If you are mourning, does it give a reason to say you violate the symbol of the state.
What symbol of the state? That symbol of the state is supposed to protect you, not to punish you.
Okay.
The symbol of each state, whether it's the flags, whether it's the president, because the president symbolizes Cameroon, just like the flag, just like the national anthem. And these are people, these are things, these are objects that are supposed to console Cameroonians, that are supposed to bring solutions. So women have been trying, and women cannot come to your office when they are crying. You see mothers, that governor who said the women should sing a national anthem was given birth to by a woman. And these are mothers that are coming. He also has a wife who is a woman, and these are people that were coming before him to mourn. And you see the people who are leading the protests in the Northwest region. Most protests are led by Ofe, this woman, this vice chancellor of the university, director of the University of Gaundere. Yes, in the north.
That's why I say most of them are led by government officials.
Yes, and then in the Southwest region, you also see the people who lead them. So that draws a lot of. It's very hard for people to think that this protest can lead to something. But what the difference with Liberia is that people went out there, they were not preached by anybody. Nobody was telling anybody to come and protest.
Yes.
If we look at Sudan just this year, the whole country came out and protested. And Sudan, the dictator, the Omar al-Bashir, he gave up power. In Libya, in Algeria, in Egypt, Hosni Mubarak gave up power. If we come to look at Nigeria, the Nigerian government decided to end SARS, that and the special anti-robbery squad that was terrorizing the citizens there, because the country came out united to protest. Nobody coming out to identify as CPDM or CRM or SDF. But in Cameroon, when we come out, the government divides us. There are people from CRM. When they are coming out, yes.
Not only the government, I would say that because at times I ask myself, why did the CRM women not just join the other women, or why did the government or the other NGO not just join the CRM? You know, that confusion. That's where we really have to. I'll come back to you. Now, I want to get your reaction. The women in the Southwest told the governor that they don't know these perpetrators of evil. And the governor was like, they live with you. Now, so many people ask the question, is the governor not living amongst us, that he too should help identify these people?
First, I wanted to read a statement from Antonio Guterres, a UN Secretary General, concerning women. He said, women's leadership and decision-making is not a favor to women. It is essential to peace and progress for all.
Okay.
That is to answer the question of women's essential leadership position, which is very critical towards peace building. It is not a favor to women. It is for the good of all. I think the men have been at the forefront and they have not produced results. And now the women need to take over. And let us remind ourselves that there are genuine women groups. When you talk about women who have been leading, and we think that they are pro-government, I really wish to differ with it, because the Southwest and Northwest Women Task Force is a genuine women movement. I was there from the beginning, from the creation, and I've watched the leadership of the of Small Change from Madame Esther Omam, which is a well-respected civil society activist who has no links with the government, except some that I don't know. But Madame Esther Omam that I know is somebody who is very neutral as far as action in the civil society is concerned. That's the person who spearheaded the creation of SNOT. Okay. And she has led, she's no longer the president, she has led over to Salih Boumie, who is equally a very neutral personality that I know of, that has no links with the government, neither do they have links with the
secretary. Let's take the last one.
Yeah.
The reaction of the prophetess in Kumba, who like stopped Minister Changanji and was like giving some prophecy there that Bia should step down, there's doom coming on them, and so on. Something that has never happened. How do you look at that?
I think there is a paradigm shift that is taking place in Cameroon, and the government needs to sit up. This is no longer the dark ages where government thought that manipulation of information is very possible. Now it's difficult for you to manipulate information. This is a digital age where people are more awakened than before, and they know how to analyze information. You might bring an information, something happened, you bring the information to the citizens, and you think that you're trying to hide from them. You think that you're trying to present the agenda in front of them, because in journalism there is something they call agenda setting, and you set it and you make people to see your own agenda that you want to set. Now it's very difficult for you to do agenda setting in this age, because people are very reawakened and are interpreting information, and so what is happening in Kumba and what is happening in the Northwest, where the women have refused to sing the national anthem,
Yes.
it should ring a bell in the minds of those governing us that time had long passed where they will go and sit down and concord whatever they want to concord and give to people and think that people will just swallow like that. Cameroonians are beginning to have a reawakening spirit.
Yeah.
And that it is time for us to challenge those we thought that was difficult for us to challenge. That is what is happening.
Without fear.
Without fear. And if you look at the prophetess who stood up in Kumba and challenged the Minister of Territorial Administration, that is something that rarely happens in the front of military, where people thought that the military is that supreme when they cuff people pee in their panties. But it is no longer the same scenario. We see women who are boldly standing up to tell the truth. Oh, I don't know whether it's the truth, but women who are boldly standing up to oppose government and tell them that we are sick and tired of the stories that you tell us, whether they are true or not.
Okay.
We simply just want a solution to the crisis.
Okay, let me start with you. Let's look at the reaction of some government officials. Let me begin with